So we were in the middle of this complicated Gemara, which basically asks the Shaila that in a situation where you have when you're also holding the animal as well as holding the pail, do you still need Rosh of Rubo? Could be that maybe that the fact that you're holding the animal will negate the need for Rosh of Rubo of the animal to be in that area. So is it okay to not have Rosh Rubo in that case, or is it not? To which we try to bring a proof that you need it, to which we said it could be in that case you're not holding on to the head of the animal. Then we said, and really, v'chinoket manav lo nokat lo mishari. He says if you're holding on to the pail and you're not holding on to the animal, even when you have Rosh Rubo, is it mutter? Which sort of the assertion at that point is that you need all three. That you need if you're holding the pail, you also don't need to be holding on to the pail. But in the case where you're holding on to the pail, maybe you need both holding on to the animal and Rosh Rubo because of this brisa that we learned. So to which we answered, let's just pick it up from there because we have to do the Rashi. It's a big Rashi we didn't do. We said that brisa does not relate to this issue. Again, the issue being in version A of the Shaila, we'll get to version B hopefully today, a little bit later on today. In version A, the Shaila being if you're holding on to the animal together with holding on to the pail, can you just ignore the requirement for Rosh of Rubo? So the Gemara is answering that this brisa that we just quoted has nothing to do with that issue. It's not a conventional case. Right? We're talking about a specific case of a trough that is extending into the Pasi Bros area. It itself is Rishus Yachid because it's 10 high and 4 wide. And one of the ends of the trough is entering into the Pasi Bros area. In that situation, we're not letting you fill up the pail and give it to the animal directly. Okay, you're going to have to just let it pour out and let the animal drink it on its own. You can't be involved with that pail. Gzeira dilma chazi leile avos to mekalkel, because of a concern you're going to see the avos that's going to be messed up. V'asa tekune, darli davla badei. So in your attempts, so if we're going to let you hold that pail and bring it. Now, how are you going to bring it? You're going to the picture we had, the diagram we had yesterday. You have the Pasi Bros, which is Rishus Yachid, and you're walking. If you're walking with the pail to feed the animal, you're going to have to keep your hand over the Rishus Yachid. I mean, you could walk outside Rishus Rabim from Rishus Yachid holding on to something, as long as the pail itself is over the Rishus Yachid, so you can maneuver yourself around the trough as long as you keep the pail over the Rishus Hayachid. But we're afraid that you're not going to. And you're going to end up carrying the trough outside and put it into the Rishus Harabim area. Let's just finish the Rashi. Let's just finish this Gemara, and then we'll go back to the Rashis. So in other words, forget about. This is not a typical case where you're dealing with the simple issue of do you need Rosh of Rubo when you're holding on to the animal? Because this is a much more complicated situation where the concern is that you're going to keep your hand on that. If we're going to let you keep your hand on that pail, then in trying to fix something in Rishus Harabim, you will end up putting that pail down in Rishus Harabim when it started Rishus Yachid, and that will be obviously a big problem. Really, says the Gemara, is that really such a big problem? Let's continue in the Gemara and then we'll do the Rashis. If you even did that, let's say you did that, so you started pouring the water into the thing, okay, and you're holding on to the pail, and then you see, oh my gosh, on the other end of that trough, it's broken, and you have to go fix it. You have to make an adjustment into something in the wall there to fix the trough, and then but you know at that point you're going to be careful. You're going to keep your hand with the pail inside the trough, so it'll always be Rishus Yachid as you walk around, exiting the Pasi Bros area. And so what do we say? That, well, but we're afraid that you're going to end up by accident putting it into Rishus Harabim. Well, even if you did that, would that be a Chiyuv Misa? Would that be breaking Shabbos in a classical fashion? He says, "V'chiyai gavna m'chayev." Rav Safra, we're in the Gemara. Rav Safra, Rav Ami, Rav Yochanan, Hamafana chafetz of mizavos lazavis. We had this case earlier in Shabbos, where if a person is moving his items from one corner of the Rishus Yachad to the other, and while he's moving it, so when he picked it up, what was his intention? To move it to Rishus Rabim, that was not his intention. Intention was to keep everything in Rishus Yachad. I'm just moving it from one corner to the other. And then in the middle, you just change your mind and you realize you got to be outside or whatever it is. You realize this thing needs to be in Rishus Harabim. Votzion. So in the middle of the carrying, when you really were starting to go to the corner, but you change your mind to go outside and put it on Wilshire Boulevard, the halach is your pater. Why right? The fundamental principle of carrying on Shabbos is that you have to pick up the item with the intent of ending it where it ends. If when you picked it up, you picked it up not with the intention of carrying it out, and you change your mind later, it's too late. That kira was never for the sake of the hotzah. And by Shabbos, you need the intent, the premeditated intent to carry out that which is ultimately prohibited. If it changes in midstream, which is exactly what had happened here, we're concerned it's going to change in midstream. Well, even if it changes in midstream, it's not the end of the world, because you're going to. If you did it, it's rabbinically prohibited. But since when do we make xeris for rabbinic concerns? We normally make xeris for Torah concerns. We're afraid that in the process of doing this, you're going to end up with a Torah prohibition. In this scenario, you'll never end up with a Torah prohibition, because there's no concern that you'll pick it up for that reason of taking it out to Rishus Rabim. Ella, so we have to make an adjustment in the concern, right? Abayi's case is still Abayi's case. We're still dealing with the trough, but the concern is not the way we just said it a minute ago, but rather Elozim the Misakinle, where we're afraid, you'll manage with the pail, and if, let's say, God forbid, you put the pail down on Rishus Rabim, it's not the end of the world, because it's rabbinic in nature, but what's going to happen after that? And then, after putting the pail down on Rishus Rabim, you will then enter into the trough area, okay, because after all, that's where you're dealing with the animals, and you'll go back to your regular business. Now, if you go from Rishus Harabim, or if you go to Wilshire Boulevard, you see the little line, the words Rishus Harabim there in front of the trough closest to us, in between the boards and the wall. There are two words Rishus Harabim. So you put the pail down in that area of Rishus Harabim. Then you change your mind. Not change your mind. You fix the thing that you noticed was broken, and then you pick it up. And you say, I got to get back to business, and I got to use the pail to deal with the trough. That is a premeditated act of Chil Shabbos, because you've gone from Rishus Harabim into the trough, which is Rishus Yachid, and that's the concern. And that is a Taka Daraisika concern. But at the end of the day, it has no bearing on our main issue, which is if you're holding on to the animal, and you're feeding it, and you're holding on to the pail, do you also need a Rosh of Rubo? And to that, we haven't really resolved that issue. Yeah?
I'm getting really confused here.
No way, I can't believe it.
Yeah. Okay, the guy standing is he in Rishus Harabim?
No, right now, no.
No, he's in the...
but we're afraid he's going to see something that needs rectification on the other side.
Okay, so
on the Rishus Harabim side of things.
Okay, so he's in that, what do you call it? What's it called?
Passe Biros.
Passe Biros. All right, so now sees something over where the cow's head is.
Right.
Something you got to fix.
Correct.
So he kind of inches around through the Rishus Harabim, but the pail is inside of the Rishus Yachid.
Yes. How does he do that while holding on to the pail?
So he's like inching around, keeping the pail.
So the permissible way to do that is keep the pail in Rishus Yachid as you walk out to Rishus Harabim, and the pail never left. You have nothing in your pockets. You're fine. You're good. The only thing is the pail.
But he's in Rishus Harabim when he's doing it, yet the pail is in Rishus Yachid.
Right.
Don't think about what he's doing. It's not even, he's just holding it.
Yeah, but he's still inching around, right?
But if the pail's still... Okay, that's why you came today, to learn that if you keep the pail in Rishus Yachid, as you maneuver your body into Rishus Harabim, you can do that. That's one of the 47 reasons you came today, but this is the first one. We'll get to we'll get to more confusion later, but right now, yes, you can do that.
And the whole reason that we're worried, if we go around there and then he's going to see the cow's head's going to turn around and he's going to want to push.
No. Forget the cow's head has nothing to do with anything anymore.
So what are
we dropped the
worried
cow's
about?
head.
Okay, what are we worried about? So he goes all the way around.
We goes over when we're afraid that in fixing it, the original concern was he'll put the pail down and Rishus Harabim.
I get that.
Okay, but the Gemara says, but that even if he did that, he would not be doing Echil Shabbos.
Because he didn't have intent.
Right. So he says, you're right. So that's not the problem. The problem is after he puts a pail down on Rosh Hashanah to fix the issue. Yeah. Then when he goes back to business after fixing the issue, his intent there is to take the pail back into the trough.
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Oh. Okay, I got it.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
What?
This is the opposite. This is the opposite of the poor guy that shows up at your house. You stick your hand out through the window, and then the guy takes the bread from your hand. This is the opposite. Instead of putting the pail's the bread, and instead of putting the bread outside, now you're putting yourself outside, and you're leaving the bread in the
I was
house.
just saying, what type of repair is allowed on Shabbos? What's he repairing?
Okay, I mean, obviously it's a repair that would be allowed. Let's say if there's a disconnection in the board or something.
That needs to be shut.
Maybe it's just a hole that's there, and he's got to close the hole, and
But are they trying to show in the that wouldn't matter, I guess.
Is that what? I don't think. Are they showing the break there?
Is that,
No, they're just showing the thing filling with water, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what's that little line there? Who knows?
Minus 10. They're telling you, I think, how high the wall is.
On the other side,
His head. Isn't that another one of those partitions behind his head?
yeah, right there.
What's
Oh,
that?
that's a
Is
crack?
that showing
And maybe it's a crack.
Like a divot in the wood or something.
Yeah. Okay. Let's take a look at Rashi. So the Gemara says, "Oh, slow down. You brought a brisa that you want to throw a hand grenade into the whole situation and prove that you even after you're holding the animal, you still need Rosh of Rubo, right? So and that you ultimately need both factors. Once you're holding the pail, you need the Rosh of Rubo and that. You have no proof to that. Why? Because we learned about that case that has nothing to do with the head of the animal. Okay, as we just mentioned to Gary, Klaimar, meaning to say, Liolam Kibin and Rosh of Rubo, but it could be very well be at the only time you need Rosh of Rubo. Okay, you need the concept of the animal being within a 2-amma area of Rishus HaYachid is only when you're not holding on to the animal. V'chevi Rosh of Rubo, Shari. And in that situation, when you have Rosh of Rubo, it's mutter. And if you don't have Rosh of Rubo, it's not mutter. So maybe Rosh of Rubo is only when you're not holding on to the animal, which was Gufar Shaila yesterday. Do you need Rosh of Rubo even when you're holding on to the animal or not? So that Shaila can still be on the table. What do you do with the Brisa that seems to say you need Rosh Rubo and even when you're holding on to the animal? Because, let's see. Okay, the Brisa that says you should not fill it up and then give it directly to the animal. We're not dealing with the case that we thought we were dealing with, where the animal is in between the pasi bros and you are. I'm sorry, with the not an animal that's standing with Rishus Harabim, but his head and the majority of his body is within the Pasi Bros of Rishus HaYachid, where that would be the classical issue. Are we afraid of moving your head out or not? That's the whole point that we are interested in. But this case is not that case. This case is a whole different ball of wax. The animal standing in a house. And he's got windows open in the house. So I mean, he's got a lot of area like that one, right? The head of the animal is going through what? A window. Now, we think windows have glass, right? We know already that windows in those days were just openings within the wall that basically allowed you to stick your head out the window. Okay, so he's sticking his head out the window, and he's eating from the trough, and so that's not the issue about, are you going to move your head into a Rishus Harabim? Because that's not the concern. But what is the concern? There's a prepared, beautiful trough in front of the animal, Rishus Harabim, that's in Rishus Harabim. Okay, Sukan Lo Lifra Bishus Harabim, fine, okay. He's got a little diagram there for us, but we have, I guess, even a clearer diagram here. Gavaya Sarav Rachav Dal, the Rishus HaYachid trough is The trough in Rishus Yachid is 10 high and 4 wide. The Rishus Yachid, which now becomes its own Rishus Yachid. V'nosen l'sham teven u'misveh Rishus Yachid, and you've put in straw and fodder, whatever, from Rishus Yachid into the trough. V'rosha evos nichnas ben apasim, and the other end of the trough moves into the area between the 4 corners, right? The pasibros, as we call it. V'yashminon, and the message is, in this, I wouldn't call it convoluted, but this, very specific, complicated case, the message is, the lo yimali min habar, you cannot fill up the water from the bar where the guy is standing, because why is he there? He's there because of the water. He wants to get water from the well. So you cannot fill up water from the well, and v'yagbiyah hadli al rosha evus, and keep holding the deli on top of the trough, v'yelach de'roshus ram v'yitaltal hadli al evus, and you as you're walking down Rosh Hashanah, you have an intention of bringing the pail to the cow. You can't do that. V'yafagav the kaimon, really? Why not? Right? Even though, so Gary's thinking right now, oh, you see, you can't do it because of my concern. No, not because of your concern that you're playing games by moving your body from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah while you're holding on to an item. That's not the concern. Because we have learned, okay, and right now Rashi's talking directly to Gary. Okay, even though we did learn that a person is allowed to stand in Rosh Hashanah and move things in Rosh Hashanah, so the idea that I'm moving and the item is staying in Rishus Yachid is perfectly okay. I can move, right, as long as the item is staying in one domain. That's not a problem. Hacha, but over here, it's usher. Here you can't. So why not? What's the difference between this case and every other case in Shas, where you're allowed to maneuver your body into any area you want, as long as you're not carrying anything, as long as the item that you are carrying stays in that one domain? So why is it usher over here? Dilma, next Rashi. Dilma, kiboila nuche, dilia rosha evus. Because when you want to put, what might happen is when you want to put the pail down on the top of the avos, on the top of the trough, chazal avos to mekalkel, you might notice that, something's wrong with that trough. Okay, the barosho, shabashus rabim, the end of it in rishus harabim, uminshe, and you're going to forget, because you got a lot of things on your mind. You got the cow, you got the this, you got the well, you got who knows what, and you're late for kiddush, and a lot of things are going on. Uminshe, you'll forget. V'dori leila davla badei, you'll carry the pail with you, because at that point you really could have easily just put the pail down and just not deal with it right now and kept it in the trough. But you didn't do that. You carried it with you. Vozel tekune, okay, and you'll go to fix the trough. Okay, you'll end up taking the pail with you, and at that point you won't be leaving it in the trough. You'll be actually putting it down. Therefore, you should not leave it. Okay, right. Therefore, you cannot lo yani chena, put it down via taltalenu and take it. Okay, I guess we don't want you. Therefore, in other words, we don't want you dealing with that pail and moving it over to the animal's head, because in that process of dealing with the pail, you'll see some issue and you'll end up carrying it into Rishus Rabim. What should you do? How should you give your animal to drink if you can't go from the Pasi Buros into the area of the trough where the animal is when you want to help it drink, right? That's a compassionate, right? That's what probably Rivka did, right? She actually helped the animals to drink. She didn't just put the water down and said, okay, you're on your own. She probably helped. So that's probably the better way of doing it. So why couldn't you do it? Because of this concern. Because we're afraid you're going to end up with a pail in Rishus Rabim. So what should you do? Ella shofech ala avos. You have to pour the water into the avos as the guy's doing right in the diagram. And the water goes, and then you put the, you'll help the animal put its head down and drink a little bit, but you cannot carry that pail out of there because we're afraid it's going to end up in Rishus Rabim. But the Gemara says, but I understand, even if it did end up in Rishus Rabim, what is the big deal in this situation? Next Rashi. When you uproot something in Rishus HaYachid with the intent of putting it into Rishus HaYachid, because your intent was to bring it to the cow inside the trough. So your whole kavanah when you picked that up and moved your body towards the cow was to keep that pail in Rishus HaYachid. It was never meant to be moved out. The inshen you forget the afke Rishus Rabim, and in the process you end up with the pail Rishus Rabim. Mimachayv midaraisa. Are you obligated in that scenario midaraisa the ligs rabbanim b'dol yafke to be geyser in a situation where you don't take it out mishum lo leiselach, that you shouldn't come to this? Okay, since when do we make a gzeira that in worst case scenario you'll be over nisa drabanan? We make gzeiras that in worst case scenario you're over nisa daraisa. But that's where you make a certain decree. But if the decree is motivated by a worst case scenario of an Issa Drabanan, that normally is not the motivation for a decree, right? We would never have Asr blowing a shofar on Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos if the worst case scenario is you would have taken it into a Carmelist. And if you took it to a Carmelist, it would only be rabbinically problem. The rabbinically prohibited. The concern was you'll take it into Rosh Hashanah or you'll carry it for Amos in Rosh Hashanah. That's a deraisa concern, but not a rabbinic concern. The answer is no. You're right that we would not have done it for that reason. But that's not the case that we're concerned about. We're concerned about the post mortem, whatever you want to call it, after you fixed the thing, after you put the kli down in Rishus Harabim. Now what are you going to do? Okay, where one second, Shlois is still the old one, right? Right, we're still on the old thing. Okay, right. So Shlois Akir, why are you not chayiv in that situation? Because when you originally picked it up, we're still in that scenario. We're not chayiv midaraisa because Shlois Akira, the original uprooting was not for the purpose of carrying it into Rishus Harabim. It was with the intent of taking it in and keeping it in Rishus Yachid. Shabbos, and when it comes to the rules of Shabbos, Melechus Machshavos Asra Torah. The Torah prohibited only malachos that have complete all of the qualifications as they were done in the Mishkan. And one of them is that you have to intend for it to be done from its very outset. Okay, Ella sheshogag b'Shabbos. Okay, but rather the concern is, I guess this now is the answer, shog b'Shabbos, that you forgot that it's Shabbos, because Savash Choil. Okay, where you end up thinking that today is actually Friday or Sunday, you got all discombobulated. Or you forgot that a malach is prohibited. These are the two ways that you can be chayav achatas. Right, shogeg, we have learned many times in the past that the definition of shogeg is either you forgot that it's Shabbos today, and you did an act that you know is prohibited, but you just forgot that today is Shabbos, or you know it's Shabbos, but you forgot that carrying is usher. You thought that it's okay. Okay, one second. The only time you are chayiv is if you intended to do the act that's prohibited. Ella, this is all part of what you're not chayiv for. Ella sheshogeg b'Shabbos, but rather the only time you're chayiv is when you make the mistake that it's Shabbos, because Havashem Chol, where you think today is a weekday. Malachas u'muteris, or that this malach you're doing is mutter, but you have complete intent to do that act from beginning to end in the way that it was done in the Mishkan. But if you're never intending to do the act the way that it was designed in the Mishkan, part of michatos. You're not going to be chayav achatas in that situation because it doesn't fit into the rules of melechas machshavas. The kivon dinami osi dekach. So since even if you would come to that scenario where you'd leave it in Rishus Harabim after your initial intent of keeping it in Rishus Yachid, like a chiyuv deraisa. There's no chiyuv deraisa, right? He says even if it came to that, you're not going to be chayav deraisa. Lo yiboilo lemigzar heteira mishum ha. You never would be gozer, a permissible act, because you might come to this act. If this act would never even net you a chiyuv chatas. Teretz says you're right. That was not my concern. My concern is v'hodam mayalei ledavlo le'evus. You will go. You will then lift up that pail into the trough labasa detakne after you fix the trough. In that situation, you have the pail sitting in Rishus Harabim. You say, I got to get back to work now. So what's my intent right now? My intent is to take this pail that's in Rishus Harabim and bring it into the trough to continue to feed my animals. That, my friend, is Melechas Moshevis deraisa, and that is a valid concern. It's a funny case because, I'm concerned I'm going to see a trough that's broken, then fix it and bring it into here. Then it's a little removed from your typical gzeira, but nevertheless that's what the Gemara holds. Okay, fine. So at the end of the day, by moving this case into a totally different scenario, we have now removed it from our shaila. So let's go back. Okay, the good news is that a lot of this Gemara is just going to be a repeat, so we're going to be able to move through that very quickly. But let's just get back to our bearings, because we're going to need the difference between this case and this scenario and the ibas ema to and get that subtlety. In this world, the world we just finished, the Gemara's whole shaila was, if I'm holding the pail and I'm holding the animal, do I need rosh of ruba or not? Okay, so that's the question. But if I'm not holding the pail, if I'm not holding the animal, right? If I'm not holding the animal and I have rosh of rubo, then that the assumption is that is good enough, right? Rosh of rubo definitely is good enough if you're not holding the animal. The question is, if you're holding the animal, can you negate rosh of rubo? That was more shayla, right? If I have rosh of rubo, I'm in business, I'm good, even if I'm not holding the animal. But if I'm holding the animal, can I replace rosh of rubo? That was the original shayla. That was yesterday's world. Now we're going to move into today's world. What's today's world? Ibos ema, and it's similar. It looks almost alike, but it's not alike at all. Iked amrei.
Is the animal muksa?
Only to move it, not to apparently hold it.
Well, like petting a dog, you're not supposed to.
Petting it's moving. The real muksa is moving an animal, not just petting it.
So like holding its collar.
Yeah, right. That would be okay.
That the Rosh Marubo, the animal there, is he in a Rishus Harabim going in?
No, right now in that case he's in a house.
Yeah, so there's nothing.
Right.
It's misleading because we were just talking about.
Well, but that's the case that Abaye says has nothing to do with our case.
Yeah, it's nothing.
So that's exactly good. That has nothing to do with our case because it has nothing to do with our case.
Yeah, because then. Yeah.
Okay, so we're not going to go back to a case which is not that.
All right.
We're gonna come back to that in a minute, but right now we're going to go back to our case. What's our case? Okay. Our case is a case where you have pasi biros, right? So forget the whole left side of the picture. Picture the guy going to the well. You got an animal inside drinking from right near the well, but the back end of his body is outside. Is that okay?
It's the picture before this.
Right. Okay. So let's do the Iked Amri now. Iked Amri, another version of what transpired. So I'm not going to tell you to forget what we just learned because that would be very dangerous. Probably pretty easy, but just hold it in abeyance, and then we'll see the contrast. Iked Amri, another version of what just went down is like this. Gabi Adam HaKabrin and the Sagle Rosh of Rubo. Right? We just finished learning at the top of the Amud yesterday, okay, that when you have an Adam, and if his body and the majority of his head and the majority of his body is inside the well area, that's good enough for him to be able to drink from the water. That's not a problem. Okay, we're not worried that he's going to bring the water out. Okay, however, Gabe Para. But now the question is by a cow, misagila brosh of rubo, is it enough? What we thought yesterday is definitely good enough. Now we're questioning, is it enough that if you're not holding, you're not holding the animal and you're feeding the animal by holding the pail? Is it enough to simply have the animal within the area where its head and the majority of its body is in Rishus HaYachid? Is that good enough to just feel comfortable that you're doing the right thing? Oh, low. Okay, or not? Or maybe it's not good enough. So let's continue. When you're holding on to the animal, holding on to the pail rather. He says, if you're holding on to the pail and you're holding on to the animal, right? There's no shaila that if you have all three components that it's good enough. Right, that which we thought was maybe not necessary, now we're saying for sure is necessary. For sure you're going to need rosh of rubo. If you're holding the pail and you're holding the animal, there's no question it is going to be good enough once you have the rosh of rubo component as well. You need all three things to come together. So what's your shaila? Let's say in a case where you're holding on to the pail and you're not holding on to the animal. Do you allow Rosh Ruba to work without holding on to the animal? Right? In yesterday's world, the question was, maybe you don't need Rosh Ruba. Now we're always assuming you do need Rosh Ruba. The question is, once you have Rosh Ruba, maybe you don't have to hold on to the animal. So it's a reverse type of shaila. But one thing we're not willing to negotiate in this world of the Ibos Ema, or the Ikadamre, I should say, the Ikadamre. In the world of the Ikadamre, we are not willing to negotiate Rosh Rubo. You're always going to need Rosh Rubo. The question is, maybe once you have Rosh Rubo, you don't need holding on to the animal, or maybe you do. Right? But Rosh Rubo is not negotiable. So once we have that difference, so the shaila is, what are we going to do? Let's just do the Rashi, the first wide line, right? First wide line of Rashi in the bottom. Lo tibolucha desagi Rosh Rubo. There's no shaila, that if you're holding on to the animal and you're holding on to the pail and you have Rosh Rubo, that's good. You cannot maneuver this without Rosh Rubo. Domasisan he b'denakat mana, because our Mishnah that we love and know, says that you're talking about holding the pail. Because if you're not holding the pail, why would you need Rosh Rubo inside if you're not holding onto the pail? The whole concern is you're going to carry the pail and take it outside. But the concern is the Dilma Masisam Denokat Lahu. Maybe the Mishnah is also talking about a case where you're holding on to the animal and you still need Rosh Rubo. So Rosh Rubo for sure is not negotiable in this world. But maybe it's good enough if you're simply holding the pail and you have Rosh Rubo, or maybe no, you need another requirement. You need holding the pail, and you need holding the animal, and you need Rosh Rubo. So which one is it? So let's see. Back to the Gemara. Amalei says, I'll prove you to Nisua. We learned it in the Mishnah. We just learn that the animal needs to be, its head and the majority of its body needs to be inside the Rosh Hashanah, and it drinks. Now, when it's drinking, what are you doing with this water? What's happening? My lav de nokat mana, nokat la. L'chor isn't the case that you're holding on to the pail, and you're not holding on to the animal. Right, we're assuming at this case, in this scenario, you're putting the pail down. You're not holding on to the pail, and we're saying as long as its head and the majority of its body is inside, that's good enough. So don't you see that you don't need to hold on to the animal when you're giving it to drink, as long as you have Rosh Rubo? And the answer is no. Who says that that's the case? Lo, the nokat mana v'nokat lo. Okay, I'll tell you that you're holding on to the animal and you're holding on to the pail. You're doing both, and you still need Rosh Rubo. So the proof you tried to bring is not a good proof, because the case could be that all three things are happening at one time. And now what was originally in yesterday's Gemara an attack on the assertion now becomes a proof to that assertion. V'chinam mistavra. And I'll even prove to you that is this scenario, that indeed you have all three. The nokat mana of the nokat law, because if you're holding on to the pail and you're not holding on to the animal mishari, would it be okay? Would it be okay to feed your animal? And that's kind of a scenario where you're not holding on to the animal and you're just holding on to the pail. That wouldn't be mutter, right? I'm going to prove to you need all three conditions there together. Okay, Vatanya says, what about the Bryce I'm about to learn? Right, our good friendly Bryce we just went over again today. We said, the Bryce said you can't fill up water and give it in front of your animal, by a trough there. You can't hold on to the pail and give it to your animal. But you have to just pour it down, and it drinks by itself. So what does that tell you? That if you don't have Rosho Verubo, he says you cannot hold on. Right? You can't fill up the water and put it in front of your animal. If you're not holding on to the animal, even though you have rosh of rubo, okay, but what do you have to do? Have malav v'shofech v'shosamila. So if you're not holding on to the animal, your only choice is to pour it into the trough, proving that you see you need all three. That the issue of holding on to the animal's head is not negotiable. So don't we have a proof that indeed this is indeed the requirement? To which Gemara is going to answer the same answer we just went through. Okay, and that is, hello, that scenario is not the same scenario. That Bryce is not talking about the scenario you think we're talking about. We're talking about a whole different thing with the whole Rishus Rabim situation. Now we're just going to review it quickly because we've got this down pat. Hoyitmar law. That Bryce is not dealing with the case you think it is. It's talking about Abaye's case. We're talking about a trough that's sitting in Rishus Rabim, which is itself a Rishus Yachid, 10 tfachim 4 tfachim wide. Rosh Nichlas ben Apasim, and the end of the trough is entering into the Bein Apasim, which is Rishus Yachid. The Zimnim, the Chazilei Le'evos to Makalkal, because we're concerned you're going to see a trough that's messed up but somehow broken somewhere. Vasil Tekune, you're going to go try to fix it. And you're going to take the pail with you. Mamash repeat of what we just said. Gemara says, and if that happened, would you be chayiv if that happened? Didn't we learn that Ravami said the name of Yochanan, if you're taking your items from one corner to the other, and you change your mind and you took it out potter, yet you don't have to bring a chatas for that scenario. Because when you uprooted it, you never meant it. Mamish, word for word review. Okay, so that can't be the Gzeira, because the Gzeira would never be made for a rabbinic issue. And that is a rabbinic issue if you end up changing your mind in the middle. Where it says, you're right. Ella, what is the concern? Ella zimna misakinle, we're afraid you will fix it. You've already finished your task, vada mayale, and then you'll then bring it in from Rishus Rabim to the trough. In doing so, you're going to go from Rishus Rabim to Rishus Yachid, and that would be a fatal flaw. That indeed would be a major problem. So bottom line is, once we've taken this scenario out of the typical realm of relevancy, it's a whole other case. Back to our Ikeda Amrei Shaila, we have not resolved it. Do you need, if you have Rosh of Rubo, do you also need to be holding on to the animal? Maybe yes and maybe no. We don't know. But one thing for sure, in the Ikeda Amrei, the issue of Rosh of Rubo is not negotiable. That for sure has to be there. The only question is you also have to hold on to the animal. In the first version, the issue was maybe you can negate, you don't have to have Rosh of Rubo if you hold on to the animal, and that we'll have to see tomorrow.